So, flared bars on a gravel bike. Is it just a fashion fad, like plaid shirts and handlebar bags? Well, I don't think so. But I have to caveat this. I am not an expert in bike geometry and bike fitting. I'm just basing this on 8 years of riding gravel bikes off-road. Now, why flare? Well, a lot of these bikes are based on road bike geometry, and traditionally people will tell you should have bars that are the width of your shoulders, and on road bikes everything is about going fast and going forward and cutting through the air. So those bars which are nearly narrow with the drops vertically down the side are brilliant for that. But when it comes to off-road, when you're doing much less speed and you want control, you want the bars a little bit wider. But not just wider between the brake hoods, it also helps when they're wider here as well. Now I'll tell you why. Because all the control when riding off-road is in this part of the bar. Up here you can cruise along lovely, but when you're on the bumpy stuff, you've got to grip harder. You get more fatigued because you might just get your hands thrown off and you lose control. Here, when you're in the hooks, you got a lot more control. It feels safer, but because they're a little bit wider, it does give you a little bit more control. You've only got to look at mountain bikes. Nice short stem, wide bars. They're used for the ultimate off-roading, descending like World Cup downhills. They all got wide bars. The same thing can benefit you on a gravel bike. Now, it's not going to benefit you if you're racing gravel bikes on a nice flat course that's smooth, which is basically just road riding on a bit of gravelly tarmac. You want aero then. That's why you can get aero gravel bikes. But if you're touring, if you're riding like I do, just basically across fields, ditches, and a bit of off-road, a bit of what we used to call blue cross-country riding, then you need all the control you can get. That's why we run a dropper. You get that saddle out the way, you've got much more control. Now, this is not sponsored by Ritchey, but these are Ritchey Corralito bars. So I'm going to take you through what the differences are in all the names, because these, you won't see it because I've got one of these fashionable bar bags. I've got a 15mm rise from here. That's unheard of, really, in road bike bars. You don't really get that at all. They've got a little bit of rise. They've also got a little bit of back sweep. Much more comfortable. And the bit between this bar and here, the actual reach, I think these are one of the bars with the smallest amount of reach, because it makes you a little bit more upright. Again, if you want aero, you want to be stretched out in the sort of Superman position, but on a gravel bike you want to be a bit more upright. You want to see what's coming on that terrain. You want to see the trail ahead, so you don't want to be down and looking up with your neck aching. You want to look where you're going, be able to see the obstacles. You want to look down the trail rather than at the front wheel, and it's much better for handling. So I wasn't really happy with the description of those bars there, because the angle that it was shot at, you can't really see the bars properly. So I'm going to go through it again with these Ritchey Corralitos. So this is the back sweep. You can see there's a slight angle, not too much, but just put your hands in a nice comfy position. The reach I was talking about, that's from here to here. In reality, here to here, when you're actually being measured, or you look online for your bars, it's this bit. Most bars are quite a bit further out, so when you're sat on the tops, you're out in that position a lot more. So that's the reach. The drop is this part here. So the drop between here and the actual drops of the bars. Again, these are quite shallow. A lot of road bars are really deep, because again, it's all about that aero. which you don't really need if you're riding just general gravel biking. Flare, probably best from this angle. You can see how that shifter is tilted over. On a road bike it would be straight. On a gravel bike it's flared out like that. And then with the flare, instead of the bar coming straight out the back like it would on a road bike, it's kicked out to the side. So again, that gives you more width and then more control when riding downhill. So flare, more flare. Well, I think Richie described it as flare out. Rise, and you can see there's a little bit of rise there and a bit of backwards comfort as well. So gravel bars there, I think that's a bit better, hopefully, than the description before. And yes, fashionable gravel plaid shirt and fashionable bag. Flare on a traditional road bike, there's no flare. The actual bars would be here, straight down. The flare goes this way. Now this is a much more natural position for your hands. If you're riding like this, and you'll find that riding like that is much more comfortable. And again, if you're doing long distances, that's what you want. You get less fatigue, you'll be able to go further. Comfort is the thing, comfort and control. Road bikes aren't really about comfort. They're about suffering, aren't they? Suffering in a black and white vista with grainy photos of people doing epic things whilst being photographed out the back of a van. Why do you need this? Why do you need these long drops? Well, it's not just for descending. I like to climb on the drops, and you can get much more power transfer when you're pushing down and pulling up on the bars like you would on a road bike, but obviously it's a much better, more comfortable position. I'm running, I think that's a 70mm stem. Any person who rides a road bike would be probably horrified by a 70mm stem. 90mm minimum, however tall you are usually, and usually a lot longer that. Again, for the stretched aero. Forget the stretched aero unless you're really racing gravel bikes and you want an aero advantage or you want to draft someone in front. You can still do it on these bikes, but you know. So that's just a quick look at why flared bars are great for gravel bikes. And again, it's a caveat. There's a caveat. It's just my opinion, and it's all of really what sort of gravel biking you do. If it's all about racing, then you probably don't need these. You could go for an aero bar with minimum bar tape, a really elliptical profile so the air rushes over it. I mean, these are round. They're not aero at all, but what they do give you is confidence off-road and confidence just general riding. And at the end of the day, that's what I want, because I want to go a little bit further. I want to go exploring. I don't know what's around the next corner, and I want these bars to look after me, which they will do. So if you'd like to see other videos explaining the tech parts of gravel biking and why various things are on gravel bikes, then don't forget to subscribe. Drop me a comment down below if you'd like to see something different or you need something explained. Like, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Get those elbows out.